Hello, Internet. Science plus gaming equals awesome, and all of my other crazy slogans. What do they mean? What am I doing here? Why should you care? I'm going to answer that in this video. I have to tell a little bit of a story, a little bit of a story, a little bit of a story. But we'll get to that. Oh, and by the way, welcome to the Empirical Sword. I'm Lore Master DLC79, and I happen to believe that school doesn't teach, at least not the way it's supposed to. And we have to take our education into our own hands until such a time that we can reform the school system so that it prepares people for surviving life, which is what it's supposed to do in the first place. Unfortunately, right now, it's letting a lot of people down. People are just outright giving up on education and just living their lives, mostly seeking entertainment. And if you pop over to my channel page, you'll notice that I do a lot of gaming content. This is why. Because I believe the people that I need to reach are more interested in entertainment than in education. And gaming is the only entertainment that I really care about. So that's what that's all about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy it, but I still enjoy education as well. So yeah, the story. It has a beginning and a middle and the end, but I'm going to start in the middle, because that's the exciting part. Sort of. I'm going to call it Episode 4, A New Hope. No, wait, that's something else. But yeah, I mean, the middle of the story is the original intent of the Empirical Sword. What I wanted to do was to use gaming content to compensate for deficiencies in math and science education. I mean, I have a degree in science, and thinking back to the experience I had with math and science education in elementary school and high school, I didn't like it. It wasn't until I started studying science on my own that I started enjoying it. Just to give you an example. Chemistry in elementary school, it was, okay, we have the proton and we have the neutron, and they hang out in the nucleus together, and then we have the electrons on the outside. The electrons are all negatively charged, so they repel each other, but sometimes they can get together and form bonds, and that's chemistry. That's confusing. Why do protons and neutrons hang out together? Why do electrons stay on the outside? Why is it that if they have the same electric charge, they normally repel, but sometimes they attract and form bonds? That didn't make any sense at all. And I didn't really enjoy chemistry until I got into college and I had to take chemistry courses to get a biology degree. Only then did it make sense. But most people, they get in the system, and it's... See, here's the thing. The more I started thinking back to my experiences in the education system, and the more I started learning how people learn and what people focus on, the more I realized that our system is completely out of date. Think about it like this. You have an inflamed appendix, and for those of you in the audience who are saying, oh, well, I've already had my appendix removed, well, pretend it grew back. And pretend it is inflamed once again, and it is about to explode inside your insides and kill you. But you're rushed to the emergency room, you're rushed into the operating room, you're prepped for surgery, and the surgeon comes out. Before you're put under, because you requested anesthesia instead of a local, but before you're put under, the surgeon, he reassures you. And he reassures you by saying, don't worry, I know all my state capitals. We can say them together. Admittedly, this is a bit of a ridiculous example, but we all need to know our state capitals. We all need to know all the countries in Africa. We all need to know everybody who signed the Declaration. Why? When in our entire lives do we need to know that except to pass some test in elementary school? We don't. Some people, like 1% of the people in the world, need to know all the countries in Africa. 1%, maybe. Most of us don't. Why is that stuff hammered into our brains as early as possible? Our system is essentially backwards. It's feeding us trivia and then telling us that's knowledge, that's intelligence, that's what we need to survive life. What about balancing a checkbook? What about cooking? What about how to find a job? How to know what kind of job is right for us? Who teaches these things? Nobody. At least not the school system. And keep in mind, this is not the teachers. I mean, there are plenty of good teachers out there who want to inspire young people to fully realize their potential, but it's the system. And the reality is these teachers, that they actually have it a little worse than the students, because they come into the system wanting to do good, wanting to inspire generations, and then, no, you have to teach this, you have to teach this, you have to go by the book, test and test and test, and if they don't score high enough, that could be your job, that could be your ability to feed your family. The thing is, the system itself, it's about 1,000 years out of date. I may be exaggerating. I may be exaggerating. It's intended to train people to go into factories and just follow instructions and tighten this one screw on this one machine. Then the next one comes along, you tighten the exact same screw. Then the next one comes along, you tighten the exact same screw over and over and over and over. You just follow that instruction, you get a paycheck, and that's life. That's what the school system was designed to teach people to do, because most of the people who went into the public school system were going to be factory workers. They weren't going to be the owners of their own businesses. They weren't going to be the researchers of the next big theory or whatever. They weren't going to be working in laboratories developing anti-cancer drugs, because it's the public school system. You're going to go into factories and make cannonballs until you die from black lung. And unfortunately, that mindset hasn't really changed. And it's not entirely what's being taught, but how it's being taught. That you're supposed to know these things and you're supposed to memorize it by rote memorization rather than understanding how it's actually useful. But the thing that I'm trying to do is to change all of this, and it basically starts with awareness. We need to be aware that the system is not performing up to par. I mean, it's getting a job done, but it could do better. We need to move away from this whole rote memorization and authoritative thinking. Such and such is an authority in this field, so what they say is absolutely true. We need to move away from that and get into critical thinking, empirical thinking, deductive reasoning, actual analytical thinking skills. And again, with the intro, I mentioned I do gaming videos. Why gaming? Because the people who give up on the system, they go into entertainment. And I don't mean they become entertainers. They seek refuge in entertainment. They go through the system thinking, oh, well, I can't do this. This is hard. I must be stupid. There must be something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It is the system. But people think there's something wrong with them. So they try to survive life however they can, not really knowing how, getting a crappy 9-to-5 job, suffering in the system, doing things on other people's time, getting paid for performing circus tricks, essentially. And then, to relieve themselves of that stress, they seek refuge in entertainment. And, well, as I mentioned in my intro, gaming is really the only kind of entertainment I care about. I can't stand movies these days. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't. I don't know. But I mean, gaming, that's been more or less a constant in my entertainment world. And I do believe that gaming can be educational sometimes. And there's actually a greater potential. There's sort of an untapped potential for gaming as an educational tool, in my opinion, at least. And I do think that the gaming industry is kind of shifting to be more meaningful and more educational. And that again is why I'm kind of targeting gaming. I do anticipate it to shift there. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't think I'm going to be wrong, but the universe doesn't care what I think. But the bottom line is, I guarantee you are smarter than you think you are. There's actually a quote by Einstein. Everybody's a genius. You are a genius. Everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish, if everybody judges a fish solely by its ability to climb a tree, that fish is going to spend its entire life thinking it's stupid. Are you a fish that everybody expects to climb a tree?